Today we're going to be talking about lesson 4.2, solving inequalities using addition or subtraction. You're going to notice that lesson 4.2 in a lot of chapter 4 is really similar to chapter 3. So the only real difference is that we're using inequalities instead of equations. So we're switching the equal signs out for inequality symbols. So we need to use the same techniques to solve these inequalities. We need to use inverse operations, and we want to use that balancing the scale method. So make sure that you're remembering those things. Balance the scale method. Remember, that means we have to do whatever we do on one side of the equal sign, we have to do on the other to keep that inequality or equation equal. So if we look at these first few, it says solve the inequality and graph the solution. So y minus 6 is greater than negative 7. We see here that they're subtracting 6 from y. We know that the opposite of subtracting 6 is to add 6. So we're going to add 6 to each side. Negative 6 plus 6 cancels, so we're left with y is greater than negative 7 plus 6 is negative 1. So y is greater than negative 1 is the solution to the inequality. Now we'll take this information and we'll place it on a graph. So again, you should have 5 numbers on your graph. Open circle, since it's greater than, there is no equal to line underneath. Y is greater than negative 1, so we shade to the right. Now go ahead and take a try at numbers 2 and 3. Now keep in mind when we add and subtract decimals that we have to line them up, and when we add and subtract fractions, we have to have common denominators. Now that you've had a chance to take a look at these, we're going to look at them together. So in the second one, the opposite of subtracting 3.8 is to add 3.8. Since these have the same signs, you're going to add and keep the sign, but making sure the decimals are lined up. 7 and 8 makes 15, carry the 1, 1, 1 and 3 makes 5, and bring that decimal point straight down. So we see that b is less than or equal to 5.5. Since it's less than or equal to, we need that shaded circle. Less than tells us that we shade to the left. On the third one here, we're going to add 1/4 to each side. Now, keep in mind that when we are combining by adding and subtracting fractions, we have to have a common denominator. So 1/2 is like 2/4. These have opposite signs, so we subtract 2/4, take away 1/4 is 1/4, and we keep the sign of the larger number, which is negative. Keep in mind, when the variable's on the right-hand side, we move it to the left, and we make sure that the inequality symbol is still facing the same number. So in this one, z is less than negative 1/4. Open circle on negative 1/4 and shading to the left. Go ahead and try the next 3 on your own. Now that you've had a chance to look at these, we're going to go ahead and solve these together. So the opposite of adding 7 is to subtract 7. 4 take away 7 is negative 3. W is less than or equal to negative 3. Less than or equal to gets a closed circle. Less than shades to the left. On the next one, opposite of adding 10 is to subtract 10. Remember that we have to keep those decimals lined up. Bring the decimal point straight down. So we have 2.5 is greater than or equal to D. Remember, when the variable is on the right-hand side, we rewrite it, making sure that the inequality is facing the same value. D is less than or equal to 2.5. So again, shaded circle for less than or equal to, shading to the left because these values are less than 2.5. Again, on the third one, we subtract 3/4. Keep in mind that you will have to have a common denominator. Here we can change this. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So 3/2 is like how many fourths? 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 2 is 6. Opposite signs, so we subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. 6/4 take away 3/4 is 3/4. X is greater than 3/4, so we use an open circle and shade to the right. Now on the last one for today, it says a person can be no taller than 6.25 feet to become an astronaut pilot for NASA. Your cousin is 5 feet 3 inches tall. Write and solve an inequality that represents how much your cousin can grow and still meet the requirement. So first of all, we need to think about 6.25 feet and 5 feet 3 inches. We have to get them in the same format. So we know that 12 inches equals 1 foot. So we're going to start there. We know that is a fact. So this is like 5 3/12 of a foot, or 5 3/12 feet, because we have 3 out of 12 inches. When we reduce this, 3/12 both can be divided by 3, we get 5 1/4, which we can then write as a decimal. 1/4 is like 0.25. Now, if you are still struggling with changing these fractions to decimals, keep in mind that you could snowball this and divide if you need to. So we're talking about our cousin is 5.25 feet. So we know that he is 5.25 feet. How much can he grow? Well, we don't know. So that's where our variable comes in. How much more is he going to grow? We know that we are comparing him to the 6.25 feet, which is the tallest that the astronaut pilot can be no taller. So we know that it can be less than 6.25 feet. Could it be equal to? Well, since it says can be no taller, it could be equal to. It just can't be more than that. So 5.25 plus x is less than or equal to 6.25. And then we are going to solve this inequality. So we start by subtracting 5.25 from both sides to find out that x is less than or equal to 1. So our cousin can grow 1 foot taller.